Hello, you hipster douchebags. It's time for the 1123 Daily Challenge. You guys wrote a lot a couple episodes ago. We're going to try and respond to some of those things, I think. But it's hard to keep them all in focus because there's so much shit that you wrote. And by shit, I don't mean as a judgment. I just meant, Jesus Christ, you guys, you wrote a couple papers, walls of text on our YouTube channel. I don't want to obligate you to respond to this either by spending several hours composing a draft paper.
I really enjoyed it personally.
No, we've read every single word everybody's written. I'm finally figuring out how to reply to people on YouTube, though it doesn't work consistently. Did I actually select the daily challenge? I fucking hope so.
No.
I did that almost automatically.
Let's just pretend you did, and if you didn't, then it's a surprise.
It's a pleasant surprise that I still have a daily challenge to do.
So what can I say? Ungodly chords. We both looked at each other and we were like, what have we created?
What have we done?
I think it's awesome, personally.
It's funny that this has become like a pseudo blog. I'm okay with that.
I don't think it's a blog. I think it's a place where people congregate and sit here and...
A place where all six of you come.
And have good intellectual discussions.
Well, it's been a blast so far, and I enjoy reading everything that everybody says. Yeah, we'll try to get in.
The first thing we do in the morning, we're like, what? So what was posted?
And I was like, Beck, you're not gonna believe this shit. We've got like 6 draft papers to read. I was like, my students' papers, they can wait. Fuck them.
Because they're less interesting.
Yeah, I've got a paper by the guy who thinks you're Asian still, and he's pretty sure you're Asian, even though, like, we've told him no. He's like,
no, have you posted that yet?
Oh, yeah, he knows you're not Asian. I just like messing with that guy.
My cadence is funny. It is true. I'm not as eloquent a speaker as I am a writer.
Yeah, oh shit, fuck you! We got an argument about, like, the role of taste in determining the aesthetic value of a work. How relevant is it? How particular is taste? I hesitate to even summarize. If you're a fan of discourse of this sort, as it borders between lit criticism, history, musicology, music theory, and probably not musicology, really, and philosophy, go ahead and read everything that everybody wrote. Everybody's really polite to everybody else, too. Even when you write sprawling lines of neurotic text, you're really polite, so that's really great.
To be honest, I write sprawling lines of neurotic text. Have you ever been to my other blog? It's
no.
It's not like I can keep my word count under 2,000.
Right.
Like, that's a short post for me.
Oh, fuck. We got this asshole. Why is there a fucking...
Man, I would love...
That guy's not... There's no spikes. Fuck him.
Totally love to make... Honestly, this is what I wanted to do with my blog. Totally make a career out of something that was... Something that was intellectually engaging and nobody thought was actually interesting.
Wait, why does nobody think it's actually interesting?
People think it's interesting, but they passively consume it. So
I see.
They don't actively engage with it.
So we are going to eventually want to somehow go up there and put a dog on that tablecloth.
Right.
If we can muster the strength.
Correct.
What the hell? Is there no dog on this level?
I don't know.
That would be unfortunate, I would say. I didn't see a dog.
No. The shopkeeper doesn't seem mad yet.
That changed.
Does he get mad every time you buy something?
No, he gets mad every time I whip him to take his shotgun and shoot him with it.
Okay.
So the question is it worth 2 ropes to sacrifice a shopkeeper corpse on that altar up there as well as a bomb?
Is that the ultimate question?
That is the ultimate question right now. I didn't see a dog on this level, so basically I'm not using the altar. That kind of sucks, but go on. I wanted to qualify what I said a minute ago. I said, like, you guys are all so polite to each other. I say that with hesitation, not because I'm worried you're not going to be, but because it seems somewhat pedantic for me to be like, hey, good job, guys, for being nice. Like, that's not... I don't like sounding that way. That sounded stupid. So just pretend I said that in a different way and that I could take it back. And,
I think it'd be better just... So, what is our view of aesthetics?
I am very poorly endowed with knowledge of aesthetics.
And my feeling...
Oh my god, I went down there to check to see if that was paste so I could go up and get the key, and it was. That's really cool.
I've studied a lot of hermeneutic theory, etc. But I haven't ever encountered, I don't know, theory about music as such. But considering I did poetry, I wouldn't say they're like the same thing or anything. But at the same time, I don't know, it's as close as I come. And I don't know, I
have a very poorly trained ear.
You would always...
So there's that.
Like, people always seem to lump, like, you're like, okay, so if I'm doing philosophy, I'm gonna do ethics, metaphysics...
Aesthetics, ethics, metaphysics, or epistemology. Or something like philosophy of mind, which for some reason occupies a different category, I guess.
Makes no sense because it seems
it's
like
basically like epistemology and metaphysics.
Together,
like
yeah.
philosophy of the self or subject, or those different, I don't see how, but whatever.
With regard to aesthetics, I don't know. I mean,
philosophy of language, I guess. Like, we could keep going. In other words.
So my own feeling about this is I don't know. After reading poetry, and my feeling about it is really intuitive. I don't think it's been explicitly theorized. Mm-hmm. But I tend to like things that actually.
What? Oh my God! He's getting shot by the snake. Oh.
Ooh.
Ah!
Oh my God! Holy God!
It's over!
Holy God.
I didn't even mean to push that thing down. I was thinking about pushing it down on top of him to crush him.
And then you just did it. Was that it? No, that's it. Oh, you sucked.
It's over.
You sucked.
Oh my God. These are 2 bad showings, but don't worry, guys. We're going to transition into the next daily challenge right now.
What?
Alright, we got impatient. We wanted to play another one right now. So this is not a daily challenge. This is a regular adventure. I'm sorry to lure you in with the prospect of the next daily challenge. That was really fucking depressing.
That was depressing.
I'm mad at myself for getting shot by that keeper.
You should be.
That was like an amateur mistake.
I don't even see you progressing past stage 1 anymore.
I know. There was a time recently where I was like, I miss when we got to What the hell? He just somehow hit himself with a rock midair. I like how I said he, as though it weren't me who made the decision. Right. I distanced myself from this guy in the bear suit.
Correct.
When really I'm dressed up like him right now. But anyway, where were we? We were talking about...
Are we allowed to continue with this, or do we have to wait until...
No, we're recording right now. We don't have to wait until 7.
Okay. So, my feeling about aesthetics is that I really, and this is not meant in a simplistic way, I like things that build on historical precedents of like what has been considered really good writing, and that itself is questionable, I understand. But I tend to measure it by, are they doing or not doing the thing that in content they claim that they are? In other words, I studied Kierkegaard for a long time, and I think he's brilliant in particular because, like, a lot of his passages are really cryptic until it's the case that you can actually understand it, almost where the content will never make sense to you until you actually understand, like, the fact that he's doing something in such a way as to actually inform the content as opposed to the other way around.
In other words, you're talking about, like, not only an avoidance of hypocrisy, though that is part of this, right? There's a sense in which you're saying enacting when you're... Uh-oh, that dog's probably just gonna croak.
Enacting the thing that you're doing is really, really important to me. Even if it's like a...
But you're not sure if that's...
I'm not sure if that's... I don't know if that's a standard that I should hold to.
Right. It could be a mere taste standard, as it were, as opposed to like a critical aesthetic standard that has some sort of transcendent value or universal value.
Yeah, because people do this and they don't do it well. But I don't. But then what is considered they don't do it well is actually really hard for me to determine as well. Like it just. It's a bit confusing at times, and things that you can think are really amazing end up not having a lot of, I don't know, reread value, if I'm talking about poetry. And so, I don't know if that should be the standard, but I'm thinking in particular about the duty to love the people we see, the marks of love, where he says, even if somebody destroys their own art piece, if you see that as loving, it is loving. And it makes no sense whatsoever in the context of what he's talking about.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
This is a bracketed question. Your Xavier, from what I gather, you're Danish, though that could be wrong. Did you have to study like Kierkegaard in your primary and secondary school? Like, was that like a thing that you all did? That's just a curiosity.
You totally broke what I was saying.
That's why I was worried to do it.
Yeah. Well, but I'm interested in that too, but at the same time. But it would make no sense. It would make absolutely no sense in the context of what you're reading until you start, like, realizing that that's what he's doing to his own work. Like, and he's sort of smashing it to pieces in order to make it such that you can tell that, in fact, what he's doing is making it such that you can't understand that passage without understanding sort of in content and simultaneously in form how it is that sentence would be operating within his own work. Because most people do smash it to pieces insofar as they don't understand that passage, if that makes any sense. So I tend to think that is a really, I don't know, lovely aesthetic move on his part. Plus, he's a brilliant writer.
Oh, oops.
Things flow, things are just gorgeous, even in the translations. I don't know. I tend to abide by the idea of defamiliarization, at least in poetry, and the idea that somehow we sort of unlock a different way of viewing things or a different perspective insofar as we're able to craft and think about different things in different ways, through metaphor, etc. But my view of aesthetics is highly philosophical, too. Like, I have a very particular and at the same time, I think, robust view of the way that metaphor works, but I don't know how it would be applied to music as such.
I mean, you can talk about, like, structures and the distance of the work. Oh, fuck, I forgot that,
Yeah. I know that I think that everybody should be able to enter into it. That is one thing that I think, I don't think art should be exclusive. That doesn't mean I propose popular art as something that, like, is really significant. I just mean that with any sort of active engagement, people can learn to listen to it. And I don't think you don't propose this.
Who's you? What are you saying?
Who's our music person?
Edward Mace.
Edward Mace, yes.
Who is probably just your full name.
Yes. Yes, I don't think that you probably think that. I think that you probably think that anybody could. Yeah, I find it interesting. We had a friend who was a pianist, and he actually went into music theory. He still is doing his PhD, like we all are. But I remember him being incredibly offended by his parents who were like, I love classical music, it's so relaxing. And he was just like, I can't even see how they think it's relaxing. He's like, every piece is relaxing. He's like, not every piece is relaxing. You were listening to Shostakovich, did you really think it's relaxing? He's like super pissed about it. So,
That worked. Oh, fuck! He got out of the web. My entire plan has been foiled.
Well, you better think of a new one.
I should.
Well, that worked.
Maybe I should just get better at
Shooting
aiming.
him. Yeah, I know.
Aim is the key.
I know. But also, I guess I would ask too, like, what about the political implications of the work?
Shit.
Which tend to be more content, less form, and maybe I shouldn't be making that distinction anyway. Because it sounds like, I could be wrong, Hujax, about what you're doing, but it sounds like in some ways there's a way in which your work touches on that. Would you agree? If you're listening to
I
Arabic
certainly think
hip-hop,
so.
Yeah. Like, I mean, what place do you, Edward
The question is just to what degree it's evaluative.
I
don't know.
Can you evaluate, or do you evaluate something that is politically active, like in terms of performance, or in terms of its artistic quality, or is it like too temporal, actually, to constitute like a really great piece of art?
Wouldn't you agree though that there's something vaguely unsatisfying about saying, like, I don't know, I'm just gonna pull out a hypothetical example, saying something like, oh, this Lars von Trier work, it's really bad because it's misogynist. Like, that sort of misses a point, right?
No, that's not exactly what I'm saying. I'm talking about art that's specifically aimed at a certain political view, but it's within a particular time. Like, Melville, for instance, wrote poetry.
Okay, so you're talking about, like, isolated political critiques that seem in some
but
ways
that are still,
to lack a degree of, like, substance in...
in terms of like, I mean, no, they don't, because it can be universalized, what they're saying, even though they're talking about particular examples. But, and it still has, like, a sort of this beautiful resonant value. and yet at the same time, like, it's very clear that they're not, like, it's historically contextualized. Melville does this when he talks about the Civil War, and he was deeply distressed by this. I don't know.
A lot of people were distressed by that war.
Yeah, but, I mean,
I'm not saying...
We're not anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and...
Actually, I would go so far as to say that if there were another civil war, where, like, the North and South broke up again...
Which might happen.
Broke up like a bad prom date.
Or did Texas, like...
Texas, they're always, like, petitions of people trying to secede. I don't know...
Alaska and Texas
know how serious that is.
Form new countries, like, different ends.
Well, yeah, I don't... Yeah. But... I'm not sure I would be that bothered.
Yes, you would.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I'm just...
War is devastating. Are you kidding?
Well, I mean,
we haven't had it anymore, like, in terms of, like, seeing people in body bags, because we're not allowed to see that anymore. But, simultaneously, if we weren't using drones and stuff like that, I think it would be really quite devastating.
Okay.
Like, if you hear this stuff that, because it gets really primitive really fast, and it's not, I don't think it's pretty at all.
Oh, fuck.
God, no!
The spider! Even when I released that spider, I knew it was going to be the death of me.
How many times have you done that?
More times than I should have. I never learned.
What is this, speed run? No gold run?
No, this is another regular run.
God damn.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. So,
everybody's really disappointed with me.
Yeah.
Ah! That was bullshit.
Okay. Anyway, so my lame view is that it has to express in some ways the existential human condition, whatever that means, and I have a view on that, but that's for later, or maybe never, in a way that is particular, and at the same time in a way that is new. I always remember, like, Wordsworth here, that the true artist actually... He's the one who
like develops
he
the
creates
taste
the
by
taste by which he is to be enjoyed. But he's always sort of ahead of his curve, right? But that said, it doesn't really work, especially with postmodern poetry, which I'm not a huge fan of. Like, really, I'm not. I'm kind of with Hujax here with, like, deconstruction can only go so far. So, I don't know. That might be vaguely unsatisfying. I'm sorry about that. With regard to the particular music we listen to, AJ is much more inventive. Like, he
inventive in my listening skills?
Yeah, like, you listen to a lot more stuff that just, I think, grates on me. With regard to the herd instinct, I definitely, after hearing it so many times, finally, I'll like, open up and be like, fine, we'll listen to this, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not like I listen to a lot of extremely eclectic stuff.
I think you do.
Really?
You knew what Bon Iver was.
Yeah, but that's not extremely eclectic. That's the joke.
Okay, fine.
The joke is that's, like, I think we're talking about a poop dicks comment.
Shearwater is something that I've learned to like quite
a bit. Shearwater might also be, I don't know. I don't, like... Ah! That was bullshit!
You're starting to blame the game.
That was the game's fault. It was my fault. I should have been more careful.
You're doing the Phil thing.
That doesn't make sense. In real life, there wouldn't be an arrow trap there.
We had a friend who would constantly play video games, and he would just blame the game about the fact that that's not how the physics would work. And we're like, you're in a video game. It was always the funniest thing. He would never take responsibility for a shitty thing that he did in the video game. So, anyway, that's probably really dissatisfying. Frazillian...
I like how we can never remember that guy's name. It reminds me of Godzilla.
I know, actually, a little bit, yeah. So, I think...
The name, I don't know about the man.
Personally, I think a BA or nothing is pretty much all you need in terms of being able to comment and drink deeply from the world's, I don't know, riches. And so I personally don't care.
Drink deeply from the world's riches.
What?
I just wanted to say that again. I wanted to see how it felt to say it.
It's probably pretty cliche, but still.
It's okay.
Alright.
That floor sucked.
Anyway,
I got hit. And...
I actually found your comments about adrenaline and loneliness, video game addiction. What is it? What else did you write?
Yeah, Becky's consulting her note sheet.
Artificial light. But really, if you were to think about it psychodynamically, it would be a thing of like parental mirroring, and how it is that we're raised, and the fact that we're isolated and we don't have extended families. I don't think there was a single thing that I actually disagreed with in there.
Really?
I
That's
really,
pretty strong.
I actually really don't. Yeah, this is. I mean, this is a lot of work that I've done in the past 2 years, in terms of trying to collect data about trauma and the way that adrenaline functions in terms of traumatic situations.
Sure.
I like how he's like, we all have these like small traumas and probably some sort of light case of PTSD. I kind of tend to agree. Like, I kind of tend to agree. It's pretty sensitive.
Is it
I
an oxymoron to say we have a light case of PTSD?
No, because he was talking about repetition.
Shit.
And he was talking about repetition as a way of actually working things out, and that is, I think that's true, actually. But I mean, for most people, what they're repeating is all hopefully good things, not necessarily bad things. But I mean, when horrible, but it's also the case that what he's saying is that societally speaking, we've set it up such that we can't really. It's not the case that we can. We are not. How do I say? Adapted to the culture that we have ourselves created.
Okay,
Yeah.
that seems to make sense.
And so, in some sense, our minds are at odds with our society. And the sort of, I don't know what you would call it, cerebral cortex, can rationally, like, distinguish things. This is the case that our sort of, because our mind shuts down, like, when there's trauma, right? So the cerebral cortex is the first thing to go, and speeches as well. And then is the sort of, like, emotional part of the brain, if you want to call it that, the sort of middle part. And then, like, finally you get your sort of very old, like
Lizard brain,
yeah. Like with the amygdala and the fight or flight response or freeze response, depending on what your body thinks the options are at that point. So women, as far as I understand, are much more likely to freeze or use a flight mechanism, depending on how they think. But freeze is typically a good one. If you're a child, it's typically to freeze. Like, if there's quite a bit of trauma happening.
Just spike shoes under the ground.
But in terms of addiction to adrenaline, yeah, like I don't know if we know any other way, to be honest. And so, I think it's a really quite actually a very smart reading. I don't know, I liked it. And in fact, maybe you can help me with my dissertation, which are in totally opposite ends. If it is,
do this work for me.
This. Yeah. So Cecilia, what?
I'm not gonna bother looking up your name, but I am gonna solicit your help on this project.
This is a huge project that I'll undertake. I'm like now between.
Oh fuck!
I'll shut up.
No! God, they're so. Fuck you!
Adrenaline.
Oh come on, just get the. Yeah, eat it. Eat lead. Oh, come on, just get it done with. It's gonna be over. Yep. Okay. What?
I was laughing. So I'm trying to decide between what could be conceived of as like polar opposites, even though they're not. One is the use of what is trauma in psychodynamic / psychoanalytic or clinical settings, which I think is quite interesting, because of the way in which people like viscerally experience it versus cognitively experience it, and the fact that memory storage isn't always explicit or declarative, whatever they call it. But the amygdala is like on freaking overdrive. And so they become hypervigilant, and they are themselves, in terms of visceral or cognitive flashbacks, reliving the experience all the time, right? Again, even if it's not a cognitive flashback, even if you're not seeing things, your body's reacting to it over and over and over again. Again, as a way of processing it. And in fact, they find, and I think you probably know this, if you know as much.
Oh fuck! I forgot I did that. Okay.
If you know as much as it seems like you do, like, oh god, AJ, AJ, why did you do this? Jeez.
That gave me a rush.
Ugh.
I feel really good about what I just did. I feel like I want to do it again.
See, it's a little dopamine.
I know.
Dopamine. Anyway.
All right.
If you know as much as you do about what you know that in fact, in trauma victims.
Oh my god!
AJ.
I didn't.
Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out!
I want the bombs that are in there.
You're such. Oh my god, you're so. Oh god. Anyway, just get out.
No, it's time to get those other bombs.
You only have one life left.
Yeah, I know. It's rough stuff. Where's the dog? Oh, he's down there.
Oh,
Okay.
No. I'm gonna keep talking.
Yeah, do it!
Okay. So, what the hell was I even saying though now?
Well, I'm sorry that I, basically showboated for the crowd.
Right. So, right. They're viscerally re-experiencing... Oh, and the hippocampus for them. It's actually shown to be, they've shown, I think they've shown lesions, and also that it's less
Lesions?
dense. Yeah.
Like brain lesions?
Seriously.
Okay. No, I mean that...
And that it's actually less dense. That doesn't mean that there can't be some sort of neuroplasticity. So, because they found, like, I think cab drivers in New York City actually have a denser hippocampi.
Hippocampus? Or they have denser
hippocampus.
hippocampus. Okay, yeah.
Than the average individual. But people who actually have trauma, that is, there are less convolutions, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's much lighter. It's not as dense as the normal population either. So the hippocampus, in case you don't know, is the part that actually contextualizes things. It's responsible for, like, spatial, I don't know, analysis. I don't know how you would put it.
It's still true, right? It's not like they've discovered that that's wrong.
No, they think it is. No, that's right. It puts things in context too,
okay.
temporally speaking. And like in the case of trauma, it's not the case that you can actually contextualize things, right? Because you keep repeating these things that happen in order to sort of, he's right, like master them in a way.
Yeah.
One, it's a learned behavior, but it's also the case that they're trying in some ways to get it processed. And a lot of therapeutic work right now is an attempt to sort of, I don't know, have whatever memories that you have explicitly, declaratively, to be able to process it in terms of and get it stored appropriately, if you will, right?
Yes.
So that said, that potentially might be one of my dissertation projects, which has nothing to do with religion, admittedly. Though I might be able to tie in ethics somewhere, and that should count, maybe. I don't know.
That should work.
Because I mean, the question of trauma puts truth under pressure. Because a lot of what happens too is there's implicit memory at work, which means implicit memory or procedural memory is basically the visceral response. And sometimes when it becomes too extreme, you'll remember things differently. Like the stories you will narrate. Like they can't actually be narrated. Piaget says this actually, that you sort of are in this world of like speechless terror, right? That you can't actually formulate what happened sometimes. And there are good reasons for this. Fried talks about this in terms of memory storage, and it's actually stored in a different place, which can't be contextualized. And so sort of implicit memory, i.e. your visceral reactions take over, and it's not always that you can speak about it. So that's interesting.
Yes.
The other side of my potential dissertation is actually looking at psychopathy, which is so fascinating because like where the amygdala is like an overdrive for people who have PTSD or trauma. It's also the case that like for psychopathy, like the amygdala like doesn't fire at all. And I haven't done as much work on psychopathy as I have on trauma, so I don't know as much about it, but I find it incredibly interesting.
Uh-oh, that guy's not going to make it. The point was to keep him alive for Khaleesi, but that's okay.
Right. And the other interesting thing, she accepts it. She seems pleased with him.
Oh yeah, I mean, she liked that corpse,
right.
But it's not...
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't really, worth her time.
Yeah. And there's tons of popular literature, too, that's coming out with, like, how to avoid toxic people. I mean, popular literature. How to avoid toxic people, stuff about, like, the sociopath next door, things about, I don't know, it's just, like, all the rage. Before, in the 80s, it was, like, narcissism. In the 90s, it was narcissism. And now, like, psychopathy has become this cultural phenomenon that's huge. So the other idea of dissertation is potentially looking at psychopathy in terms of, even though I don't want to use Foucault, the way in which people actually put the psychopath and toxic people, so to speak, in categories, because personality disorder is something that's considered intractable, right? It can't really be treated by drugs, it can't be treated by psychotherapy very easily. There's sort of a lack of growth or depth that can occur. I mean, this is not true in all situations. Borderline personality disorder, which is itself actually considered potentially not a personality disorder because it can be treated quite well, is the exception. However, with regard to narcissism, psychopathy, and a social personality disorder, which kind of bridge each other, they kind of bridge and merge. Insofar as they're the intractable part of a person's personality, and they don't involve a lot of growth, they can't be treated, and consequently, people tend to put them, I think, in this category that are like, well, there's nothing to be done, and therefore, it's much easier to like deal with an inert object and the feelings that you feel toward an inert object than it is towards somebody who is considered to be like, or could be considered to be moral, if that makes sense. Like, it's a lot harder to deal with people that you're like, they could have done otherwise and they never apologized to me, as opposed to somebody that you're like, well, this is the way they are, and they will never even have the capacity to apologize to me. And so I think that part of like literature now is like in some ways trying to cope with that. Because you can't be mad at a chair, right? It's really hard to be mad at a chair, and if you can conceive of it that way, I think it goes a long way toward helping people. And so that's why there's like all the rage on that issue. So that's the other dissertation topic, which is again the complete opposite end of the spectrum, because the amygdala is not at all firing with the psychopath, but it totally is with the trauma patient.
Sorry guys, that was limited Kapala or limited Khaleesi altar work, and I didn't ghost the vault.
Anyway, I am so very sorry for that long-winded thing. But there is my interest right now.
I'm dead. You got stuck in a web.
So I just wanted to call out and say, yeah. I actually really liked your post, and thank you for it.
All right.
And also,
Oh,
Xavier, ecstasis. We should totally know about this because apparently it's our field, and yet you know more about it, and we're both embarrassed, and we were like, oh.
I wasn't embarrassed.
I was like, we're in religion, we should totally know about this, and we have no idea.
Why would we have to know the Bible just because we're in religion?